Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 1 matchup between the Texas Tech Red Raiders and the Wyoming Cowboys, two teams of which who were kind of middle of the road in their respective conferences last season, Texas Tech being an 8-win team. But this is a team that you could very well see making a run this season. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas Tech turned out to be this season's big dark horse. Maybe we see them win the Big 12. That is within possibility for Texas Tech this season. And they've got Wyoming in Week 1. The Cowboys are a team with definitely lower expectations than Texas Tech, but still definitely not a team to sleep on. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Let's get started. This matchup being on Saturday the 2nd in Laramie. So the Cowboys are the home team in this matchup, which especially Week 1, even though it's between a Group of 5 team and a Power 5 team, it makes a difference. I mean, going on the road in Week 1 is not an easy thing to do. I mean, if it was like Week 2, Week 3, different story, but Week 1, you do have to consider that Wyoming is the home team, and they do have an advantage there. Kickoff is 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Spread's going Texas Tech by 2 touchdowns, so the Red Raiders are favored, as you'd expect. I mean, Texas Tech, there's really no hiding it. They are probably the more talented team in this matchup. And so, yeah, they're favored by a couple of touchdowns. Over-under is 52. FPI is going with the Red Raiders as well, right around 82%. So overall, a pretty heavy favorite. Series history, Wyoming leads it 3-2. The last time we saw these two teams play each other was 1992, so about 30 years since we last saw this matchup. Stat comparison, Texas Tech last season, a strong team offensively. They were 32nd in the country in points per game, 97th in points allowed. So defensively, this team did struggle at times last season, but offensively, this team could very well have made a run for the Big 12. And this turned out to be, I mean, we kind of expected this team to be halfway decent last season. No one really expected them to be a major contender in the conference, but 8 wins was kind of, I think, what we sort of expected out of this team, and at least it was definitely impressive. But looking forward to 2023, this is a team that's got as high of expectations as we've seen in quite a while. And if you look at the returning production, I mean, you'll see why. This is a team that offensively returns a lot of their experience. Defensively, they do as well. Plus, they bring in a couple of key players from the transfer portal. So, and I mean, it's just a matter of the quarterback situation. Last year, we saw 3 quarterbacks split time pretty much between Donovan Smith, Tyler Shuck, and Baron Morin. But it looks like Tyler Shuck is going to take over. And, of course, injuries definitely affected this quarterback situation last season. But, yeah, Tyler Shuck, bearing any injury, should be the primary starter this season. So we'll see if he can. I mean, he's an experienced quarterback now. We'll see if he can reach a high level in 2023. But overall, this team 16th in pass yards game last season, 58th in rush yards. They were 102nd in pass defense, 97th in rushing. As for Wyoming, this team was 106th in points per game, 125th in pass offense last season. This was one of the worst offenses in the country last year when it came to passing. Andrew Peasley was the primary starter at quarterback. He is returning for 2023, and I'd expect him to be the primary starter. So, I mean, hopefully he is improved in 2023. That could go a long way. I mean, this team in the backfield was pretty good. It was just the passing game that was pretty terrible. But defensively, overall, not a bad team. 49th in points allowed. They were 54th in pass defense, 82nd in rush defense. Your key points for this one, Texas Tech. This is a team that should be considered a true threat this season. They do have a pretty difficult schedule, though. I mean, you consider the Oregon matchup that is looming for next week. That's a huge matchup for this team, taking on a Ducks team that you could expect to be a main contender in the Pac-12, maybe even the college football playoffs. So, I mean, that's definitely a huge opportunity for this team. Looking forward to Week 2, but you got to take care of business in Week 1 against Wyoming first. I mean, this is a matchup that should not be overlooked, and I mean, the ingredients are there for this to be a potential trap game for Texas Tech. So you got to keep an eye on that. Make sure you get business done in Week 1 before looking forward to Week 2. Wyoming being a team that is expected to be right around 5 to 8 wins in 2023. This team could maybe win the Mountain West. They'll be up there in contention potentially, but there definitely are other teams that would favor over them. But offensively, they struggled last season. We'll see if the offense can be improved. They got home field advantage. And, I mean, this is a huge opposite opportunity for Wyoming here to kick off the season on a high note against a Texas Tech team with high expectations. I mean, yeah, this is definitely a game that's got keys to it being a potential trap game. But with that, let's get into the prediction for this one. Texas Tech and Wyoming coming up here in week 1, and in the end, I'm going to be going with the more talented team, I feel. 34-24, I'm going with Texas Tech. Once again, this is a matchup that I do think is going to be maybe a bit closer than some might expect. I think Wyoming hangs in there, and this could be definitely a moderate scoring matchup. I'm taking the over on the 52. I don't see this being a big shootout by any means, but I do think we see the over and Wyoming to cover the spread in the end. But I do have Texas Tech 60%. I think that Red Raiders should win this game, but this is one that I would be cautious about. I mean, obviously, we see college teams once in a while maybe look ahead of the game that's right ahead of them. And in this case for Texas Tech, obviously the huge matchup against Oregon coming up here in week 2 is definitely on the mind. But I do think Texas Tech gets it done. They win this game by 10. And with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup. And I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.